Every single morning, you make choices. You decide when to wake up, what clothes to wear, how to drive to work, and whether or not to take a risky shortcut. You assume you are the sole author of your life. But what if I told you that right now, as you watch this, there is a very high chance you are sharing your brain with a silent, microscopic tenant? And what if this tiny tenant is subtly, quietly nudging your behavior, your personality, and even your reaction times? This isn't sci-fi. This is a real, living organism called Toxoplasma gondii. Toxoplasma is a single-celled protozoan parasite. And right now, it is estimated that nearly 1/3 of the entire human population, that's close to 2 billion people, is chronically infected with it. In the United States alone, an estimated 60 million people carry this organism in their bodies. For decades, medical science patted us on the back and told us not to worry. As long as you have a healthy, working immune system, the infection remains dormant, or latent, hiding out in tiny cysts inside your brain and muscle tissue, without causing any obvious symptoms. It was thought to be of little public health significance. But groundbreaking new research is completely shattering that comfort zone. Scientists are discovering that Toxoplasma is not just sleeping in our brains. It is actively communicating. It's synthesizing neurotransmitters. And it might be playing a puppet master game with human behavior. To understand how a single-celled parasite could control a human, we first have to look at its twisted, brilliant evolutionary master plan. Because to Toxoplasma, we aren't the main character. We are just a tragic detour. Every parasite has an ultimate goal, a place where it can settle down and reproduce. For Toxoplasma gondii, that holy grail is the digestive tract of a cat. Cats, both domestic and wild, are the definitive hosts of this parasite. It is only inside the cat's intestines that Toxoplasma can undergo sexual reproduction. Once it reproduces, it produces millions of incredibly resilient, hard-shelled eggs, called oocysts, which the cat sheds back into the environment through its feces. But there's a major bottleneck in this cycle. How does a parasite hiding in cat feces get back into another cat? It has to rely on intermediate hosts, usually rodents, birds, or other small animals that accidentally ingest soil or water contaminated by those cat oocysts. But rodents are naturally terrified of cats. They have hardwired, evolutionary survival instincts that force them to run and hide the second they catch even a faint whiff of cat urine. This is where Toxoplasma unleashes its genius and its horror. Once inside a rodent's brain, the parasite actively manipulates the animal's neural circuitry. It doesn't just dull their senses, it specifically target destroys their fear of cats. In fact, infected rodents develop what scientists call a fatal attraction. Instead of running away when they smell cat odor, they actually become drawn to it, hanging around predator zones, until they are inevitably caught and eaten. By rewriting the rodent's brain, the parasite completes its life cycle and gets back into the cat. Evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins famously described this as an extended phenotype, a scenario where a parasite's genes control the physical actions of another animal's body. But here is where the story gets deeply unsettling for us. Humans are mammals. Our brains share the exact same evolutionary scaffolding, neurotransmitters, and basic circuitry as a rodent. So, what happens when those 2 billion infected human brains are exposed to the exact same parasite? We humans contract Toxoplasma the same way other intermediate hosts do, by accidentally inhaling or ingesting oocysts while cleaning a cat's litter box, eating undercooked meat containing tissue cysts, or consuming unwashed vegetables grown in contaminated soil. Once inside us, our immune systems fight it off, trapping the parasite in a state of permanent, asymptomatic latency. Or so we thought. In recent years, researchers decided to look closer. If Toxoplasma can make a mouse brave enough to walk up to a cat, what is it doing to a human's sense of risk and behavior? A massive, population representative birth cohort study, published in the prestigious journal PLOS ONE, decided to find out. Researchers followed a large group of individuals to see if latent Toxoplasma infection was linked to brain and behavior impairments, including psychiatric disorders, poor impulse control, and personality changes. The results of associative studies around the world have been jaw-dropping. Scientists have found that humans with latent toxoplasmosis exhibit a measurable decrease in psychomotor performance. In plain English, their reaction times are slower. When put behind the wheel of a car, this split-second delay becomes deadly. In fact, multiple retrospective studies have shown that people infected with Toxoplasma have a significantly higher risk of being involved in traffic accidents compared to uninfected drivers. But it goes much deeper than just reaction times. Researchers have found a highly significant, reproducible association between chronic Toxoplasma infection and serious psychiatric conditions, most notably schizophrenia. The immune response keeping the parasite in check might cause collateral damage, or the parasite itself might be actively altering how our brains process reality. Which leads us to the ultimate scientific mystery: how is a microscopic, single-celled invader actually pulling the physical levers of our minds? For a long time, skeptics argued that these behavioral changes in humans were just accidental side effects, perhaps a general symptom of our immune systems fighting a long-term infection. But recent veterinary and medical studies have uncovered a highly specific, chemical smoking gun. Toxoplasma gondii isn't just sitting passively in our tissue. It is a biological factory. Researchers have discovered that the parasite actually possesses genes that encode an enzyme called tyrosine hydroxylase, specifically TGTH. Why does that random scientific name matter? Because tyrosine hydroxylase is the exact rate-limiting enzyme our own bodies use to produce dopamine. Dopamine is one of the most powerful neurotransmitters in the mammalian brain. It controls our reward pathways, our motivation, our fear responses, our movement, and our sense of reality. By carrying genes like this, the parasite is fully capable of synthesizing and releasing its own dopamine directly into the host's brain tissue. A study from the Royal Veterinary College demonstrated a direct, dose-dependent correlation between this parasite-produced dopamine and dramatic changes in host behavior. When Toxoplasma floods the brain with excess dopamine, it disrupts our natural neural balance. This dopamine dysregulation is the exact biological mechanism behind impulse control issues, heightened risk-taking, and is a major hallmark of psychiatric illnesses like schizophrenia. In other words, the parasite isn't just throwing a wrench into your brain's computer. It has written its own software, plugged it in, and is actively altering the chemistry of your thoughts. All of this forces us to confront an uncomfortable, almost existential question. If a microscopic organism hiding in your brain cells can slow your reaction times, alter your impulse control, and nudge your personality, then who is actually making your decisions? Where does your free will end, and the biological programming of a parasite begin? Now, before you look at your beloved pet cat with suspicion, let's set the record straight: you do not need to get rid of your cat. Cats only shed these infectious oocysts for a couple of weeks, during their very first infection. If you practice basic hygiene, like washing your hands after scooping the litter box, avoiding undercooked meat, and washing your fresh produce, your risk of catching it is incredibly low. But the science of Toxoplasma serves as a profound reminder of a beautiful and terrifying truth: we are not isolated islands. We are deeply connected to the microscopic world around us. Our thoughts, our moods, and our behaviors are not just products of an independent mind, but a delicate, ongoing conversation with the trillions of microbes and parasites that call Earth home. So, the next time you feel a sudden, uncharacteristic burst of bravery, or find yourself taking a risk you normally wouldn't, ask yourself, is that really you? Or is it the 2 billion strong club talking? Let me know in the comments below. Does the idea of a brain-hijacking parasite terrify you, or do you find it absolutely fascinating? If this video successfully hijacked your dopamine pathways and kept you watching till the end, do your brain a favor, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss another mind-bending episode of nerdy nonsense. Until next time, stay curious, wash your hands, and keep wondering who's really in control.